Hi, I'm Jennifer Fox with Music Educator Resources, and today is music teacher tip number 32. So today I wanted to talk about transitioning back in-person lessons. If you are like me, you've been teaching online during this pandemic, and you might be in a position where you can start transitioning back to in-person lessons. But maybe you're not quite sure how to go about it or what to do as far as safety precautions and maybe even some guidelines that you want parents to sign and go over before they come back to in-person lessons. So I'm here to kind of share what I've done because I have recently started transitioning back to in-person lessons. I thought I would go through first the things maybe that I've purchased in my setup, and then later I'll go through my COVID guidelines that I had parents sign. So before, at the beginning of this month, in August, when I started lessons, I always kick it off with what I call fall kickoff. And that's kicking off our semester after our summer break. And we share, the things that the students, what they practiced during the summer. We play a game. I introduce our new theme for that year. That kind of thing. So I did a porch pickup because I wanted to start our fall semester online because I wanted them to have at least 2 weeks to prepare for if they were going to transition back in person. So this gave them time to get their things in order, so to speak. So I did a porch pickup where they picked up all the materials that I wanted them to have, including a practice pouch that was to be used both at home as for practicing, as well as during music lab. And I wanted all the materials here, and in addition to the lesson time. So for example, inside the practice pouches, and I've been doing practice pouches for over 20 years, and inside the pouches they have received a pencil, a highlighter, a box of crayons, stickers. I even gave them earphones for when they're here for music lab. Some practice games, including dice and Smarties. In the past, I've also included a clothespin for finger strengthening or to use as a music holder. I've also in the past included a 1-minute sand timer for that focused 1-minute practice session if that's all they have time for that day. But this time I left those two things out. Anyway, I'm a big fan of practice pouches, but now I'm even a bigger fan because it is serving multiple purposes for both at home and in here. So I stress that they have to have their pouch at all times. And if they lose anything in the pouch, that they need to replace it. All right, so once we kicked off online for a couple weeks. So the first week was our fall kickoff. The second week was regular lessons online. And then after that, those who chose to transition to in-person lessons, which ended up being about 75% of my studio, started transitioning. So when students are here, the very first thing they do outside before walking in is they take their shoes off. I have shoe booties that they can put on. This is nothing new. I've been doing this the last year. When I got new carpet, I wanted it to stay nice because I've seen what happens when it doesn't with all the traffic that comes in and out. And so that was just a rule that I had implemented over a year ago. And then once they walk in the door, I scan them, scan their head with a no-touch thermometer. And I love these things. It makes it very not intrusive. It's just really easy to do. The kids, actually, it's no big deal. I have not had a student that made a big deal about it at all. They just go up, I reach my hand out, and I scan and check their temperature. Now, even I understand there's some things about, the temperatures are an iffy thing. Sometimes a student might be okay and they have a high temperature, or maybe they don't have any symptoms because, as we know, COVID-19, sometimes you don't even have a temperature at all. That's not totally what I'm concerned about. As you know, students can be just sick in general and have a temperature. They might not have COVID-19, but they might just be sick. So the temperature, of course, helps with that. But also, it gives the appearance that I am taking this seriously. So when parents know that I'll check their temperature when they walk in, I'm taking this seriously. And once I check their temperature and it's A-OK, then I give the parents a thumbs up. Oh, let me rewind a little bit. Before they even come, they can't come to the door until I wave that it is okay to come in, because I clean and sanitize in between students. And so I don't let them in until all is okay. So they don't even come up to the door until I give them that wave that they can come in. So then they'll get that thumbs up or a wave again that all is okay as far as the temperature goes. So then after that, they put on some hand sanitizer, clean their hands, and then we go from there. In my studio, I have an air purifier with a UV light in there. I think this is better than the wand, because a wand, you have to sit there for quite a long time to do anything. I've read a lot on wands and they just don't seem like the best option. However, an air purifier with a UV inside it, I think is much better, because it's constantly going out there throughout the lesson. And I did a lot of research on air purifiers. I tell you, that's a rabbit hole right there that you can go down. And so the one I wanted to get, of course, wasn't going to come until like October. So I ended up getting another one, and I've been really happy with it. And then I also got a small, just a UV light air purifier. This is just like a $35 air purifier for this room, because this room's a much smaller room. I didn't need a big air purifier like my other one. And so this one is just plugs in and is in here when the student is doing their music lab. In addition, the very first thing I did actually was buy a second piano for my living room. So now I have 3 pianos. And I bought a Roland HP 704 digital piano, and I love it. So students are having their lesson on this piano, and while I am on the grand piano, where I am demonstrating on the piano that I'm on. We're playing duets on separate pianos and stuff. And I tell you, I love having this second piano I've been wanting. And I have it where we're distance, of course, are 6 feet apart. So they're on one piano and I'm on the other, and we have that distance. I also bought, I think this was my second purchase that I bought that I am loving, is this multimedia workstation cart /cart. And it allows me to do my lesson notes on my laptop, where before I had just a rolling laptop stand that I used. But the reason I got this was so I have everything in one place. So I have a copy of their music in one of the cabinet things, and I have, all my materials basically that I will need for during lesson time in one of the drawers and stuff. And then when it's time to switch to an online lesson, it's just a matter of rolling the cart just a little bit around to the side of my piano, and I'm able to teach an online lesson really easy. I bought a gooseneck tablet mount clamp that clamps right onto the workstation, so it has that second camera view for the online lessons. Before, I had a big stand, and that worked fine for when I was doing 100% online lessons, but for me having to switch quickly, the big boom stand just got in the way. There wasn't a good place to put it when I was doing in-person lessons, and so this other gooseneck mount is working a lot better, where I could just clamp it on really quickly. It literally takes me about 1 or 2 minutes to get ready for an online lesson after an in-person lesson. The other thing I keep in my workstation is a dry eraser board, and I also have one for the student at the piano. So at any time, if I need to do an example or I need to write something to show them anything, I can just do it on the whiteboard. And then same thing, they have a whiteboard as well on the piano that they can use if I need to see if they understand or whatever, or show me something that they need to show me. I also have, if they're having a hard time seeing what I'm demonstrating, I have this little plastic keyboard that I can simply do something, quick, like show an example of a chord or a note, or point to a note or something. And speaking of pointing to a note, very convenient is I have a projector that has a little what do you call it, laser pointer on it. And so I'll just laser point my hand. And so I already had this. I didn't have to go buy one, but the laser pointer has proved to be very convenient to have, as I have used it to some students I found just have a hard time tracking their music, especially the little ones. And so I laser point their music to help them track where they're at, or I might laser point a key if they're not in like the right position they need to be in. So that has proved to be really good. Oh, one other thing that I forgot to mention is, yes, I do require masks, and so we do wear our masks. The other thing that I do as far as cleaning goes is, thanks to my friend Lynette, she has told me about this. It's called Disinfectant, Botanical Disinfectant. I actually have it right here. I'll show you it. I'll link to all these in the blog, by the way. So this is what a nice big bottle of it, and it's already mixed. The main ingredient of this is thyme, the oil. So it's totally natural. And I just put it in a spray bottle and spray a microfiber cloth. And I bought a big box of 50 microfiber cloths. And so after I use it, I just toss it in a little basket that I have, and then use another one for the next lesson. And so that at the end of the week, when it's laundry day, I just throw all of the microfiber cloths in the washer and dryer, and they're all clean for the next week. And so that I'm loving this. And it has a nice little lemon scent too. So, and I love that it's natural. And on their website, it does say it kills COVID-19. So 2 thumbs up for that. Yay. Let's see. I mentioned earbuds for Music Lab already. I put those in the pouches. And one thing I wanted to mention is we do group lessons online. So anything that is group related, camps, workshops, any group lessons, those are going to be online, because I just do not have the room in my living room to safely distance everyone. I usually have about 8 to 9 students that come to group lessons, and so we just do them online. And I'm actually, because it's online, I'm able to have more in a session. I can easily do 12 to 14 students in an online group session, no problem. And again, that depends on what you're doing in your groups. So, all right, well, now let's go to the fun part of the guidelines. So I'm just going to briefly go through what I put in my guidelines, and feel free to use whatever you want as far as your guidelines. So at the very beginning, I put, please note, online lessons can be chosen as your preferred lesson option at any time. So if they're not feeling well or whatever, or if they just prefer it, I'm totally okay. We can do online lesson. All group lessons and camps will be held online until further notice. I don't have room in my studio to safely distance. I explained that. And then I say, please attend lessons online for at least 2 weeks when the student or anybody in their family is sick, or not feeling well, or have any of the following symptoms. And of course, I list the symptoms and feel like an infomercial on a product. Of course, another reason is anyone in the family has been exposed, suspected, or diagnosed with COVID-19. And of course, have them let me know immediately, so I could determine if we need to revert back to online as far as that goes. If I haven't seen them at all in that time frame, at least 2 weeks, then it's not a big deal. But if they were planning on coming, and it's good to know that. Anyway, so, and of course, I want them to be cleared by our doctor that they're okay when we resume in person. Another reason for them to stay online for at least 2 weeks is when they travel to a high-risk area within that 2 weeks. So if they go to Disneyland, I consider that a high-risk area, or a state or country that might, have a higher risk of getting COVID. There are areas that, of course, are low risk where there's not a whole lot of numbers going on right now. And then attending a high-risk social gathering within the 2 weeks. So things like going to a party and nobody was wearing masks and there wasn't social distancing and things like that. So that's why I want them to stay online for at least 2 weeks. And then I have agreements. If they're attending lessons, they're agreeing to that they're healthy, nobody's been exposed, they haven't traveled or attended a social gathering that I mentioned before. They understand the risk of being exposed to COVID-19 and will not hold the studio or teacher liable in any way. I mentioned that they need to wait in the car until I wave them in, or I could text them too. Sometimes they might not see me. So I can text them and I explain why I do this. I have to quickly sanitize and clean. I mentioned that I check their temperature with a no-touch thermometer, and I don't want them to leave until I give them thumbs up that they're okay. Masks are required when cities, county, and state are mandated, and right now they are. And I tell you, I have to say, Arizona, that's just where I'm from, we were one of the highest COVID-19 places for quite a while. And then the state or the cities and counties started requiring a mask mandate. And in the last 6 weeks, our numbers have dramatically dropped. And we are now at like, what is it, a 5%, I don't know what it's called, but anyway, it is a huge improvement. So I thought I would just mention that as an example of how masks do help. Immediately sanitize hands upon approval. Hand sanitizer will be provided. I do have scented and non-scented that they can do. And stations and lessons will end a few minutes early for me cleaning between the rotations, and that includes lab time. Now, most of my students that are doing in-person lessons are siblings, but I do have a couple, maybe 4 or 5 maybe, that are not siblings, so I have to sanitize in between the lab rotations as well. But if they're siblings, I don't worry about that because they're with each other 24/7. But once they leave, then I'll do that. And then, of course, the last thing I said is please make sure you have children go to the bathroom before they arrive to lessons. I will let them go to the bathroom in case of an emergency, but I would prefer them not to get in the habit of doing that because that's just one more thing I have to worry about as far as cleaning and all that stuff goes. So that's the gist of the guidelines. I'll share that on the blog as well so you can read them through a little bit more in detail. But my parents have been really good about that as far as following them, and so far so good. So I hope this has helped as far as when you are transitioning to back in-person lessons, when you're ready and when it's safe to do so, or when you feel confident that you can do that. And best wishes to you and happy teaching. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye.